Welcome to our defense briefing program. I'm your host, Liang Jun. Today, we're diving into some significant news stories that are shaping our world. First up in the U.S., President Trump speaks for FBI and intelligence directors are facing a tough confirmation process, with a stark divide on how to tackle the looming threat from China. While one nominee is all about aggressive countermeasures, the other is more focused on privacy concerns. It's a fascinating clash of perspectives that could influence our national security strategy. Next, we turn our attention to Sudan, where the ongoing conflict is taking a devastating toll on healthcare facilities. Reports indicate that medical centers are becoming prime targets in the violence, leaving civilians without essential care. This situation is dire, and it raises serious concerns about the humanitarian impact of the conflict. Lastly, in Canada, an unauthorized fence along the U.S. Canada border has been removed after public outcry and investigation. The fence, which sparked controversy over border policy violations, is now gone, highlighting the importance of trust between neighboring nations. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage on these pressing issues. South China Morning Post reports on the contrasting approaches taken by Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard during their confirmation hearings for key intelligence and law enforcement President Donald Trump. Patel, nominated to lead the FBI, adopted a hardline stance against China, emphasizing the need to combat its espionage activities and the trafficking of dangerous synthetic drugs. He expressed his commitment to safeguarding critical infrastructure and highlighted the urgency of addressing threats by the Chinese Communist Party. Meanwhile, Gabbard, nominated as National Intelligence Director, took a more nuanced view, downplaying the risks associated with the Chinese-owned app TikTok and advocating for the protection of First Amendment rights. Despite acknowledging China's cyber threats, she faced skepticism regarding her lack of intelligence experience and her controversial views on military expansion in the Indo-Pacific region. Deutsche Welle highlights the dire situation in Sudan, where the ongoing conflict between the armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces (RSF) has left civilians vulnerable and health facilities increasingly targeted. Medical workers and health centers have come under fire, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis as the war rages on. The report underscores the tragic consequences of the violence on the civilian population, which finds itself caught in the crossfire, with essential medical services disrupted and the safety of healthcare providers compromised. CBC reports on the recent removal of an unauthorized fence along the U.S.-Canada border in British Columbia, which had sparked an international investigation. The Delta Police Department had initially recommended the fence's construction following the tragic incident of a senior who accidentally crossed into the U.S. and died. The fence faced backlash from Delta residents and officials who felt it undermined the long-standing trust between the two nations. The International Boundary Commission confirmed that the fence had not been authorized and was in violation of historical policies regarding border construction. Its removal has been welcomed by local leaders, who emphasize the importance of maintaining open and trusting relations between Canada and the U.S. NY Times in a tragic mid-air collision near Washington, D.C., an American Airlines Jet 10 Army Black Hawk helicopter collided, resulting in the loss of 6 civilian lives. Recovery teams have been tirelessly working to retrieve bodies from the icy waters of the Potomac River, confirming that there were no survivors among the 6 Twiffer passengers on the jet and the 3 service members aboard the helicopter. The incident marked the most severe air disaster involving a commercial jet in the U.S. Since 2009, preliminary reports indicate that air traffic control staffing was below normal during the time of the collision, with one controller managing both helicopter and airplane traffic, a task typically divided between the personnel. Among the passengers were figure skaters who had just completed a training camp, adding a layer of heartbreak to the tragedy. Australian Broadcasting Corporation. As the search for bodies continues, officials have confirmed that there were no survivors of the devastating collision. The American Airlines passenger jet and the Army helicopter collided mid-air, prompting a swift investigation into the circumstances surrounding the crash. The focus has turned to air traffic control protocols and the possibility of human error, as officials work to piece together the events leading up to the disaster. The emotional toll of the incident is palpable, with families now left to mourn the sudden and tragic loss of their loved ones. Associated Press in a White House briefing President Donald Trump expressed condolences for the victims of the crash but controversially shifted the discussion towards blaming diversity and inclusion hiring practices for the incident. As he attempted to link the tragedy to alleged lowered standards within the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA). Despite the ongoing investigation, Trump pointed fingers at various parties, including the helicopter's pilots and air traffic control, while maintaining that flying remains safe. With many questioning the validity of his claims and the appropriateness of attributing the crash to diversity efforts without evidence. CNN reports on a tragic incident that shattered the 16-year safety record of U.S. airlines when an American Airlines regional jet preparing to land at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport collided with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. The crash resulted in the deaths of 6 civilian people and marked the first fatal crash involving a commercial U.S. airplane since 2009. Despite the impressive safety record, experts have noted increasing risks in the air travel system due to a shortage of air traffic controllers and congestion in major metropolitan areas, particularly around Washington, D.C. Anthony Brickhouse, an aviation safety expert, expressed sadness but not surprise at the incident, highlighting the prevalence of near collisions in recent years and the need for systemic changes to prevent future tragedies. Deutsche Welle highlights the dire situation in Sudan, where the ongoing war between the armed forces and the rapid support forces has left the civilian population in distress, particularly affecting health care facilities. Medical workers and health centers are increasingly targeted in the conflict, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. As the fighting continues, the safety and well-being of the population remain precarious, with essential medical services being severely disrupted, leaving many in desperate need of care amidst the chaos of war. Australian Broadcasting Corporation covers the controversy surrounding discussions on nuclear waste management following a meeting between South Australia's Treasurer and a defence company in the UK. Former Senator Rex Patrick raised alarms over documents suggesting that the government is contemplating the defugling and dismantling of nuclear submarines at the Osborne shipyards, while Treasurer Stephen Mulligan downplayed the significance of nuclear issues during his visit. Patrick emphasized the need for transparency regarding decisions that will have long-term impacts on South Australians. With the first nuclear submarine not expected until the early 2030s, the conversation about nuclear waste and its implications for future generations is becoming increasingly urgent, as local communities express concerns about potential waste transportation and storage in their neighborhoods. Associated Press reports that President Donald Trump, while offering condolences for the victims of a tragic mid-air collision that claimed 6 civilian lives, quickly shifted the conversation to political grievances, particularly targeting diversity initiatives. Speaking from the White House, Trump questioned the competence of the Army helicopter pilot and air traffic controller involved in the crash, suggesting that hiring practices under diversity initiatives may have contributed to the incident. Stating that air traffic controllers needed to be talented, naturally talented geniuses. Despite admitting he had no evidence to support his assertions, Trump insisted it was a matter of common sense. His remarks drew criticism, notably from former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who labeled Trump's comments as despicable. Trump's response to the disaster echoed his controversial handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, as he speculated on the circumstances of the crash while calling for prayers for the victims. Vice President J.D. Vance and newly appointed Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy supported Trump's stance, emphasizing the need for high hiring standards in government roles. Despite the tragedy, Trump expressed confidence in flying, asserting that he would not hesitate to board a plane. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopsis, thoughtfully curated by the 6DO team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6DO Brief, It's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 60O team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 60O brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 60brief.com, regardless of your location. You can conveniently receive 60O brief by email.
Turn on the screen, monsters screaming. Empty smiles, their words misleading. Power games and dark